The G-Shock Mudmaster module 5678 is packed full of features. Here's how to use them. To get started, let's align the hands and set the time. Unscrew and pull out the crown at 3 o'clock, while the mode hand is set to 12. Here you can adjust for city, which time zone you're in, daylight savings time, mute and activate key chimes, turn on or off the auto light on lifting the watch, set the duration of said lighting, and set from 12 to 24-hour time, and turn off power saving mode, which I think we'll leave on. Once you've made any and all adjustments here, hold the 4 o'clock button down to align the analog hands. This normally isn't necessary unless you can tell they're out of alignment, but it's good practice to set these with any new analog digital watch that allows for it. Now that they're perfectly aligned, let's go back into that menu and hit the display button to manually adjust our hands. These are set automatically in North America, being a radio-controlled multiband 6 G-Shock, but you can manually adjust them here with the hour and minutes, or the hour by itself, or make adjustments to the year and date. This automatic time correction is available outside of North America as well, in Japan, the UK, Europe, and China. However, if you'd like to turn this off, you can do so in the RC menu by hitting the Mode button. Here you can pull out the crown and turn off auto sync. By rotating it counterclockwise, clockwise, either will do. We'll leave auto sync on for now. And alternatively, you can manually establish a connection by holding the 4 o'clock button here. At the bottom right hand side of the digital display, you'll see the indicator of L1, L2, or L3, indicating connectivity strength. Bigger is always better here. You'll notice at 6 o'clock on the digital display, you can see the last time the Mudmaster synced to one of the 6 transmission stations. Once adjustments are made, tap the Mode button. As the mode dial adjusts to the time mode, notice the left-hand side of the digital display. It'll say either L, M, or H, indicating the battery level, low, medium, or high. While back in time mode, let's take a look at the compass and altimeter function. The compass can be accessed on the screen by tapping the 2 o'clock button. As with any good compass, it adjusts bearing with the rotation of the watch. You can adjust the accuracy by pulling out the crown while in compass mode. While on this calibration screen, you can adjust either by magnetic declination, either due east or due west, or manually with the G-Shock. To adjust manually, simply hold the device until it's level with the ground and tap the compass button again. You'll have to wait a few moments here, but once it says to turn the watch around and indicates 2, you'll press the compass button once more. And another prompt will appear stating OK, as in you're all set to go. To enter the altimeter, press the 4 o'clock button while in time mode. Here you get a reference for altitude in either meters or feet with a visual rendering on the left-hand side of the digital display. When initially entering this mode, current altitude will be measured every second for the first 3 minutes, then according to the auto interval set in the menu. The altitude can be manually set or is automatically adjusted based on barometric pressure. To make manual adjustments, just pull out the crown to set for current altitude. Here you can adjust for the intervals at which the altitude is measured, every 5 seconds within an hour, or every 2 minutes within 12 hours. Next, you can adjust the differential of these indicators on the bezel from +10 and over to -10 and under. And I don't know if you can make out those little numbers, but they are printed on the resin bezel here. Either 100 meters or 1,000 meters, respectively, every number being marked either 10 meters or 100 meters. You can adjust the unit of measurement as well in the same menu. Once done, simply push in the crown to go back to the altimeter. To set a reference altitude, simply hold the display button and one will be established. You can check your relation to the reference altitude by tapping the same button. Altitude is automatically measured while in this mode to provide your highest and lowest altitude as well as a cumulative ascent and descent. It will record any cumulative ascent or descent only when there's a difference of at least 15 meters or 49 feet. However, you can make manual measurements in altimeter mode as well. To do so, hold down the 4 o'clock button until REC stops flashing on the screen. The Mudmaster has enough memory to hold up to 30 altitude recordings, with each new measurement deleting the oldest record on file. To view any of these ongoing records, press the Mode button until you reach the Recall screen. In Recall mode, we can toggle through our manually set altitudes as well as our maximum, minimum, ascent and descent altitude auto records. Here, you can manually reset any of these recordings. While viewing the record you'd like to reset, simply hold down the display button until clear stops flashing on the screen. Said recording will now be reset and good for measuring your next activity. If you'd like to reset every channel, wherever you are on this menu, simply hold down the display button until clear all appears. And now every record will be clear. Hold the mode button to go back to time mode. Now let's go through the various modes of the module 5678, starting here at the home screen or time mode. Beyond being the screen for initiating the compass and altimeter, you can, you guessed it, tell the time. You can cycle through 3 digital displays with the display button, either a day and calendar, a barometric graph and calendar, and the time. Let's take a look at the barometer a little more closely. With the mode button, you can toggle between all various modes of the Mudmaster. In the barometer, we see the barometric pressure graph and current pressure in either hectopascal or inches of mercury, INHG. To see the difference in this pressure from the last to current reading, simply press the display button. Now, note that the G-Shock automatically measures this value in 2-hour intervals as indicated by the graph. To receive notifications on sudden barometric pressure changes, hold the display button while in barometer mode. Now, any change is due to sudden ascent or descent or passage through high or low pressure areas will trigger an indicator to display when in barometer or timekeeping mode, provided that the barometric graph is selected on the display. This is a bit difficult to illustrate while stationary, but on screen I'll display what these indicators are and what they mean. Feel free to pause here. Provided the barometric pressure reading is off, you are also able to calibrate these manually. These are adjusted in factory and should be set, but in any case you can access this adjustment by pulling out the crown. Turning the crown will increase or decrease the pressure reading. Furthermore, you can adjust the unit of measurement in the same menu. To do so, hit the mode button. On this model, and as noted earlier, we can measure in either hectopascal or inches of mercury. That about covers the barometer function. Now let's take a look at temperature mode. Once you enter it, the watch will take temperature readings every 5 seconds for 3 minutes, after which it'll take them every 2 minutes. To manually measure the temperature while in this mode, press the display button. Just like our other meters, we can manually adjust the temperature and units of measurement by pulling out the crown. Mode then shifts between units of temperature, while rotating the crown adjusts either setting. If there's no activity within an hour of being in temperature mode, it'll automatically set the watch to time mode. Now, since we've covered recall mode, let's skip ahead to our stopwatch. Here you can measure elapsed time, starting the recording, stopping the recording, resuming the recording, and so forth. Once done recording, press the 2 o'clock button to reset. You can also measure a split time by pressing the 2 o'clock button while the stopwatch is running. Press that same button to release the split, and the 4 o'clock button to stop. Lastly, for timing first and second place finishers, start the stopwatch, then hit the 2 o'clock button for our first place finisher. Press the 4 o'clock button for our second finisher. To display the time of our second finisher, hit the upper button once more, and then once again to reset it. Next up we have timer mode that can be set from 1 to 60 minutes. Much like the stopwatch, our lower button begins, pauses, and resumes the timer, while the upper button resets it once paused. To make adjustments to the timer, if your guess is use the crown, you'd be correct, yes. The Mudmaster has memory for 5 alarms and can be set as an hourly signal. To scroll, use either the upper or lower button. Those arrows there aren't just for show. Now, once you've found the alarm you'd like to set, simply hit the display button. To make adjustments to the currently selected alarm, you guessed it, say it with me now, pull out the crown. Now, you can adjust either the minutes and hours here by rotating the crown, or adjust the minutes and then the hours separately by hitting the mode button. Once the alarm is set, press the crown in to select whether it's on or off. Last but not least, we have world time mode. The analog hands here will display your set world time, while the digital display shows your home time, or HT. To find out your current world time, press the display button and the seconds hand will point to the selected city, or in this instance, UTC. To check whether the current time of your world time is an AM or PM, press the 4 o'clock button. It will point the seconds hand to either AM or PM before returning to indicating the seconds. To swap these two readings from analog to digital, hold the display button until city flashes on the screen, and those two times swap. UTC, or Coordinated Universal Time, don't ask me about that acronym, as I mentioned earlier, is an option here and can be adjusted for by holding the 4 o'clock button. Now to select your world time city, you pull out the crown and rotate it until the seconds hand is over the preferred world time. You can make adjustments for daylight savings here as well by pressing the mode button. Once set, press the crown back in and voila! You're ready for the world, or at least prepared to tell the time for anywhere in the world. And now for the bonus section. The 6 o'clock button down here is a light. If you know G-Shock, it's just as predictable as the crown here, but it also holds one more function. You may have noticed how the hands cleared to either or side of the dial when in certain modes to make clear the digital display. Provided you'd like to do so manually, press both the light and mode button at the same time. To set them back to time telling, simply hit the mode button once more. This one's truly more G than the average Shock. You can find this watch and so much more at windupwatchshop.com.